Press it.
Yeah, press it down. There you go. And try down.
Everybody, pay attention.
Okay.
We're learning.
So,
All right, let's go.
I'm gonna log this in. New incognito window. See if it's plug in. So when you go here, this is not the actual home page. The thing, what's linked on on UMBC is this one, res/p/home. But you can just say umbc.smi.io onto your bookmark bar. And you can do that, but this is the page that's linked on the SGA website so that people see this. Because they need to be using their UMBC credentials. So you click login, and you click UMBC, and then it's going to bring you to the screen. That's not my password. And then it's going to ask me to do a push.
How many balls just to click call?
What?
So that gets a push notification. I want them to call me instead.
I want them to call. One request waiting. So that when you log in, you're going to see, typically you're going to see two options, applicant and reviewer. You can switch between these roles at any time. Applicant is what every other student who has an account and has attended the treasure training will see. Reviewer is for you as finance board representative. So typically you're going to be going into the reviewer side. When you go into the reviewer side, you're going to see everything that you have access to review and at what stage. Both the SAHAS request application and the finance board semesterly budget application have stages. So the first stage is when the student is completing the application. The second stage is when you are reviewing the application, the finance board review stage. The third stage is when you are voting on it, and that kicks to Liam and Justin, so that if Liam isn't here, Justin can complete it, and vice versa. Typically, Liam is the one completing that stage. The fourth stage is for Verinda to sign it or veto it. If Verinda signs it, like it kicks to her, she signs it, and then it gets moved to the accepted stage. If Verinda vetoes it after you all have passed it, it kicks back to Liam and Justin to 5A stage, which is veto override, for you to vote on again. And then if you override her veto, it kicks to accepted. It's just a branch, right? One branch is one way. Does that make sense? The stage you will see typically as finance board members is finance board review stage. And any applications that are available for you to review are going to be here. And you click start on it, and it's going to list them all out for you. And if you're like, okay, I want to review this one that came in on the 20th, you can, when you're in here, it's going to, on the right-hand side, is going to be a place for you to write comments. You can look at the whole application on the left-hand side and see what they're asking for, who's asking for it, what they're asking for. They're asking for club t-shirts. The quote was $9.11 per shirt, or $273.30 for 30 shirts. Pretty nice. You can also look at any documentation that they've uploaded. That's a bad logo. It's not in compliance. I would not approve it. Just look. This. That's not within UMBC's branding guidelines. Yeah.
I actually have a question on that.
Yeah.
a few of these shirt requests. Like, do we worry about like the branding guidelines?
You
Is
should
that
be worried about that. You should be worried about that. If they're putting UMBC on there, they need to be using the UMBC logo. And it's freely available to them to download. So they can keep everything else in whatever font they want. If it says UMBC, it needs to be the UMBC logo. That make sense? Yes, question.
And we can't fund them if they don't have.
You can, I would say you could table it and say, you need to submit to us via email updated documentation of a different logo. I would advise against funding them with the wrong logo, because then you guys can get in trouble. Like, and by trouble, I mean someone would tell you stop funding stuff with the wrong logo. Yeah. Am I correct in this, friends, student orgs?
Yeah.
All right, but that's an odd tangent. So when when you're in here, you can either click on the link to view the application, or you can just click start, or you can do quick review. Quick review is like, oh, I already reviewed this. I just forgot to put in my comments, so you don't actually look at the application. But I would click this, and then you can read over the application. You can jump to a particular section, like if they had an approval, if they had a collaborator sign off. You can also see the reviews that other people have submitted. So Michael said, I have no issues. $73, I find no issues and requests will be fully funded. Right? So if other people have submitted reviews, you can see their reviews. If they haven't, then nothing can, oh, Mohammed submitted something under the limit for cost, recommends approval. Right? So if you're like, I wonder what other people think, you can look at the reviews that they've submitted. And then you would go in here and submit your notes, like under limit, but would table until they submit new logo in compliance with UMBC spell check yourself, and then mark as complete. And you can always modify your review, but that is something I would do. You can also put notes on it. That doesn't count as a review, but if you just like want to put something else on there that's not in your review, you can do that. You can email that note to other people if you want other people. This, I think it would be great if you were like, you want other people to look at something and before you submit your review, and you want to give people notice of that. You're like, hey guys, can you all look at this? I'm confused about what they're asking for. If anybody could provide clarification, so you could have a record of like you're consulting with the group about that. But you don't actually have to use notes. What you need to do is submit reviews. I'm pretty confident that the expectation is that everyone is reviewing every single request before they come here to the room. So Liam has committed to sending out the agenda 48 hours in advance, so that you'll know who's being reviewed, if there are any sub-house requests, so that you can go in and find them and submit your reviews. It's not hard. Okay. Questions about this process?
I guess, can you, like, is it possible to link that in the agenda? Because the names are kind of weird.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that too. Maybe Liam, you can put what the application number is in there. Yeah, perfect. So Liam's gonna commit to putting the application number in the agenda, so you know which one it is. Michael?
Are viewers allowed to see, I guess, statistics about overall, I guess, allocation requests? Like, if you wanted, like, I know there was some discussion about, as finance board through the new system, we were able to see like how much was requested for food, how much was requested in certain lines.
Sure.
Can you see that?
So not here. We can run reports and pull those for you and then present them at finance board meetings. So if I switch over, because I have an admin account, so my account looks a little different. So like if I were to go into So what is the crux of your question?
Well, I was just curious if, as individual finance board representatives, could we do it on our own? But I guess we've got,
Yeah, because it's in the admin section of it. I don't know. Oh, Fritzy, hello. So he has a lot of applications. I don't know why it's doing that. That's so odd.
That's a lot of calls.
Yeah, he's made a lot of, he has a lot of draft applications. I don't know why it's doing that. What, so sometimes in reporting, it like, oh, hold on. I don't care about that. Aha, okay, I understand now. Alright. Yeah, so I can clean this up. Anyway, but yeah, we can pull that data. Other questions about this? Do you understand what your expectations are around completing reviews in the system? Has everybody logged into the system? Everybody's committed to doing their reviews?
Yes.
That's it.
Yes, we're doing
That was my finance walkthrough. I feel like I did this already once before, but I wanted to do it again.
Can
Yeah.
you send me an email with extras?
Yeah, so, yours, because Liam's already done it,
Okay.
you don't see it. And
Okay.
And oh, well, Liam did it, but you would see it, but I already moved it to Brenda, that's why you don't see it.
Okay.
Yeah, right, Brenda? Yeah, right.
So, just as a heads up, as has been mentioned prior, there are 4 Sahas queue, like waiting in line. There are 4 requests in the queue. We will be discussing all of those next meeting, so I expect reviews for all of them. At the meeting, there's a small meeting that leadership has from 4 to 5 prior to the meeting. We'll do the switchovers then, but I expect to see everyone have something in their reviews, even if it's just like noted, recommend, or noted, not recommend. But you please have something in, as your 1 week's notice.
Can you see each other's notes?
You can see each other's reviews.
the
What about the
semesterly
notes?
budgets, is that full start for spring semester, or is that something we're gonna have to review?
Those are for spring semester. So anything that's in there, you don't have to review until the 18th.
But if there's stuff in there that you wanna review now, go ahead and do it. Because there's gonna be like 100 of them in there on the 18th at 11:55. So then, hopefully it doesn't break, crash anything. But it'll be fine. And why is this logged in as one boy? One boy. Cannot with my speaker. Okay. That's all I have.
taking over.
Send it in my system. We're weird.
Oh, I'm watching for you.
Okay, who's next?
Thanks, Candace.
Next is the liaison walkthrough time.
Oh, yeah, that's you.
So, this is kind of like a second more transition. I'm just putting everything I think up here. Something so hopefully something gets done.
Okay.
If you don't like to do it, I'm gonna do it. I'm not like to.
So,
No, it's good. It's good. Actually, like, for this first time, I'm for the calendar link, like, the signed user should see so that. That's good statement, but I think that's the first time we do this one.
I think you have to do these in the direction you want.
I would.
So, just, you can assign something. Explain that idea.
Alright, so if you could direct your attention to the screen. Basically, what me and Tori have been working on are basically canned responses to organizations and student orgs. The first set here, 10-1, my bad, 10-10 and 10-17 are our emails that we would like for you guys to send out to your student orgs about this upcoming spring semester application for allocation. Candace,
Yes.
we're gonna work on the 10-1 tonight, or?
yeah, would you all be willing to sort of co-work right now to send an email? I know you already did something. If you haven't already, to send an email to your orgs hey, it's 1st of October. And the 18th is quickly approaching. Would that be something you would be interested in doing? Yes, great.
Yeah.
How many of us know how to mail merge? Cynthia!
Oh, I do.
Does anybody else know how to mail merge on Gmail? You just BCC them all up, don't you?
I made a group, like on
Oh, you
Google
made a
Contacts.
group.
So it's called Ilsa Liaison.
That's what I was gonna
I'll
do,
do
but
that.
then she showed me mail merging and I can't go back.
You can't go back.
I watched the video and
Cause
the guy was just, so I stopped
that's
watching.
why you couldn't talk to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Too
easy.
far.
Yes.
Can I provide feedback on this?
Sure.
Can you hyperlink treasure group with the link so it's not just a thing?
Are you planning on, I mean, I'm not planning on like directly copying and like pasting. I'm just gonna
I would
like,
make some capitalization decisions.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna like know that like I need to put in that information and I was gonna write my with
I think as for information, I think that we should also let orgs know that if they are requesting ECS, they have to meet with Grace Gears, so they have the utmost time to do that within them. So under, they have to go to treasurer training, just that they have to meet with ECS if they're requesting ECS too.
You have to go to 25 minutes.
Where is this document in the folder?
So this is a guide. If there are things that you want to add into it, you are free to do that. If there are points that people think should be made, that everyone should cover to their orgs, that's also something to say. Can you share this with?
Yeah, I can. I mean, this is
Yeah.
just supposed to be like a generalized doc. It's not necessarily supposed to be like specifically tailored to like each one because I know each org is different. So I'm going to share that soon. But yeah, so this is one that we would like for you to send tonight. Scott suggested it, and I think it's a really good idea. I'd also like for you guys to send out a reminder on the 10th of this month, and then one on the 17th, which is the day before they are due. Yes, Elsa?
Wait, where is this in the doc? In the folder, sorry?
I'm gonna put it on the floor.
Okay.
And then here at the bottom are some allocation responses. Again, these are just generalized and sort of going to be tailored until after we start setting precedents as to like what we want to do with clubs and how we're going to fund them. So for instance, there's going to be one for GBMs, event max funding, merchandise and giveaways, and food. Things like conferences, travel, lodging have yet to be done just because like we don't know what to expect yet. Any questions? All right. Mail merge with Candace time?
Oh yeah, do you all want to learn how to mail merge?
What is it? I suggest you
What
all
is
learn
mail
how to
merge?
What else is left on the?
What else is left on the agenda?
What else is just left on the agenda for us to do?
Answer
Exactly.
questions.
So questions that you might receive during office hours. This was going to be just everyone's spitballs, like questions they've gotten. We can provide answers information.
Oh, wait, is it closed out?
Just go to share. He's so
Yeah, we didn't even see the full picture to appreciate it.
October 1st, right there, right there.
Okay, I think we should all have pictures of ourselves next to our names in the membership section.
Oh,
I know exactly what
yeah.
pictures.
No, but Reese is updating the website with pictures too, so stop Reese
Use that
picture.
picture for this.
Yes, definitely use the set.
And no, according to
Oh,
this,
you would have
how long would you
You would have
You would have
No,
kept
this was just like,
So,
I don't
can't
know,
tell
it was
you.
a Tinder actually.
You missed it, it was a moment.
Yo, is this Tinder you?
That was a
I put my
different
hand
me
in.
from a long time ago.
It was literally.
On task, here we go.
Alright guys,
Alright, how to respond to office questions.
and then we have our hospital. So, would you guys like to learn how to mail merge during this meeting, or if not, we could try and set up times outside for you to individually meet with Candace Candace to learn. So our options are either meeting with Candace outside of this meeting to learn how to mail merge and continue off the agenda, or setting aside some time this meeting to talk about mail merging and how to do that.
Do we have to mail merge?
No, you don't have to mail merge.
Make
Just
sure
for
that I have
like
like my groups.
But your mail merge, you can see whether or not they open it.
See, I would suggest learning as a group.
And if they
Just-
click on your links.
The nice thing about that too is when you're sending an email to several people, when they respond to that, when you're like, okay, I know that that's like Russian Club versus like when you do a Google group, it's just like one long chain sometimes, and then you're like constantly responding and trying to piece it together.
It's up to
Just a
you.
thought though.
I'm happy to teach you individually if people are better that way.
Just go there and do it.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Alright. Well,
So, straw poll gauge, all in favor of learning at this meeting, please raise your hand. And then all in favor of learning on your own time. Wow, would you look at that?
So look at that.
Alright, so we're gonna move on. Yes, Scott?
So when is the email that you sent?
Yeah, so can we have a commitment from everybody that they'll send an email out today, if not tomorrow, by noon?
Okay.
Does that feel okay?
And we can see, because we're all gonna see the.
The finance
No.
board, yes.
Just
Hello?
with
Right
one
under
of
there.
those,
Put in the
I guess I'll just add it to the list.
Below up the inbox. Below up.
Right at the bottom of the first paragraph.
Alright, so yeah, please send out those emails.
so they have to meet with Common Vision?
No, ECS.
Wait.
Not combination, right? ECS.
Yes, that's something like.
If you're requesting comments fees, you have to meet with Greg Spears and get in that planning.
No, but you may have to. Because depending on the size of your event, where it's like, I don't have to meet with people who are doing like, if it's 75 and over, they have to meet with Greg.
Okay. Isn't it mandatory that they upload something, or?
If
Yeah,
they're
so I was
requesting
wondering-
Yeah, so they're gonna get something from her one way or the other. Either
Okay.
a planning form or like a receipt.
But if your event doesn't have like 75 people, like I was filling up
It's $75.
the form, I was filling up one because I was showing someone how to do it, and even if I put in that like I'm not requesting any campus life fees, it would
It's for, yeah, that's what something I saw today too. So that's something I'm gonna fix.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
Cool.
you for reminding me, because I had
Alright, so yeah, please send out those emails. The template will be made available to you guys. You're free to copy and paste it. But I'd also recommend, if you'd like to make changes, you're free to do that as well.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on to office questions. So, for those of you who have been going to office hours, which should be everybody, what kind of questions have orgs been coming in with?
How do I apply for funding for the spring semester?
Does everyone know the answer to that question?
Do they have a treasure training? Didn't I ask that? Really?
Yeah, some people are. Some people
I'm
are
gonna make-
confused still.
I remember we used to give a test for people who wanted to be treasurer. I remember I had to do the test. I had to get 25 out of 25 on it.
For which org?
This was political science, like freshman year.
Like, wait, so SGA gave you a test?
Yeah, as
Yeah, they used to
treasurer.
do it on Blackboard.
Yeah, and it's like you have to get all the questions right.
Huh. Ding, ding, ding.
That's not bad.
So show that you learn.
Professor Scott. Yeah, you can cheat, but like. you
I
don't
mean,
do
yeah,
that.
but so much it's like.
Well,
You can cheat through all 25 questions, but in the
But
effort it's
through
gonna
the
take to
cheating,
cheat
you're
through all of them,
learning.
you're
Well,
still
through
going
the-
to remember.
Yeah, you still have to
During
like.
treasure training, do you like go through like the form?
I go through everything.
Yeah.
You do.
I mean,
walk
like-
through the form?
No,
you don't
I-
walk through the
I make them
No.
apply and shit on the website because they have to make an account. Like, this is where you apply for funding. There's a walkthrough that Candace made right under.
Yeah, but you
I don't
would
go through
go
the whole
through the
walkthrough.
form.
Maybe we could do
But it's
a-
comprehensive. I shouldn't have to. You should just know where the resources are.
Well, if there's anything that we've learned so far is that we should not assume anything out of students.
Something that's comprehensive.
Yeah, maybe we could do like a tutorial.
We love students. We're here to help them.
Well, yes,
Some
we love students
more
very
help.
much, but we just can't assume that they're gonna know what to do.
That's true.
Right, because it's not native to them. It's not something they do every day.
Unlike us in the Alberta.
Or me.
resolve it though if they're asking treasurer training questions to liaisons. 'Cause
What?
that's
I
not-
was in office hours. Someone came to
Okay.
all my office hours, and I showed them how to do it. What?
I mean,
all of your office hours?
I
No,
think
they
for
came to
now.
my office hours today,
Oh, okay.
and I walked them through the form.
I mean,
Okay,
it's not.
so that's okay. You don't see that as like a failing on my part. You're okay with helping me do that.
Oh, I don't see that as a failing on your part.
Like, do you want me to try and make a post and be like, hey, you need to know how to do this from treasurer training? Like, Justin was saying, have them have a test or whatever.
Oh.
Or
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm fine with showing people how to go through the form.
okay.
I don't know.
Like 25, that's like so comprehensive.
I don't think a test would be like the worst thing though, like just to show that you like have an understanding of it.
Yeah.
10 questions.
I'm not,
gotta get-
yeah, not like 20, that's so much. And like they can take, they have to get 100, but they can take it as many times as they want. Or like 3 times.
Yeah,
I
I
would
took it
not.
all
Why are
three
you adding
times.
stress?
I would not put
3
it.
times.
I think, I mean,
Then they'll just like.
personally, I think it's really easy to do that and then forget it until you have to submit the form, right? So like, Candace showed me probably a month ago all the stuff on serving on heat, and then I went to actually have to start doing it, and that's like, I forget all of it. So like, I don't know if it's gonna really help them remember it in the long run, unless there's like maybe the walkthrough, like resharing the walkthrough and that sort of thing. Like, I think the comprehensive stuff is good. Like, I know that I can't request for this or that, but I think like a walkthrough on the form is more helpful with like a resource they can walk away with and refer back to. Because it's one of those things that's like, I know Scott said something about blah, 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 but I'm looking at it now and I don't remember.
That's why I try to provide like comprehensive resources on the website so they can
Yeah.
like teach us themselves
Yeah.
again if they forget.
So I think just something to refer back to with the form, even if it's like screenshots, like, here's a screenshot of this means X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I had no issue with like that. That was the only person who's ever come. That's the first person who's come to my office hours. So.
You are so.
Everyone comes.
So what other questions you guys been getting during office hours?
Facilities questions?
Facilities?
Oh, the bathroom?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Questions?
That's not related to the color.
Yeah, I was gonna say questions related to like finance more specific. Yes.
So like, I'm just getting some about like petitioning, so like being heard of the board and things of that nature.
Okay.
I did notice like there's no like, is there a petition process on the SGA website? No? Because I think I was looking for one. It's like, I think that would be helpful for folks to like see how to do that. Like an official doc.
I can work on it.
Yeah, it might be helpful to like, I don't know if you can also write on to like streamline like petition, maybe like add an option to like add a reason for why. I don't know though. Just a thought.
The current process that they requested for the liaison.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
But yeah, we could do something similar for a survey monkey. Be like, hey, if you'd like to.
What? No, you can have 2 programs on Survey Monkey.
Only 2?
Or you
So
can
you're
make
paying for
like
it.
a Google form.
We can do a Google form.
You do a Google form.
We pay all this for survey monkey. They're like, only 2.
Yep.
Only those.
Okay.
Solo those.
You want another one?
We didn't have.
Give me that.
Two active
allocation
programs.
system. Alright, so I'll work on that Google form and I can start trying to do some revisions to our budgetary policies and guiding docs to create a more streamlined process for that,
For what?
for petitions.
Yeah, so that was a conversation we had last year about there being an appeal process.
the issue going on last year was that every club was here to talk about their budget and stuff. It's like what decision
So you
was
can
made.
call, I would not call it an appeals process if you do, or appeals process, you can do an amendment process. But an appeals process is like someone submits something and then a case is heard and they can make their case. An amendment process is different, like,
Want everything over to the appeals board.
yeah, no. The legislation can be appealed, it can be amended.
An
So-
appeal also implies that it's going to an external body.
Correct, and it's not, it's
Going back to finance.
Coming back to
Right.
finance.
You're just gonna approve your own decisions.
Right, so
It's
if you
appeal.
want an amendment and a request for consideration of an amendment, that's something else, but it's for consideration of, like, and somebody has to present that legislation. So, yeah,
We can start.
I mean, but that's something you
Yes,
can
yeah.
do now. You don't need, you don't have to formalize the process for that. Because you can present amendments to legislation now.
I think this process is different just because basically all of our decisions were made without clubs being there to advocate on behalf of themselves.
But I
So
think that was because it was in the summer.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, so that's why I feel like this was a unique situation where we had considered the use of a petition kind of process to rehear, but I'm kind of okay with just mixing the idea that well, you can be present for your budgetary meetings here, you can listen in, you can debate when your club comes out here. So, no more petitions. Last word for me. Any objections to that?
No more petitions? Is that for this?
No, that's not for that, that's something different that we'll discuss. But just the idea of petitioning the board to rehear your case, we're gonna drop that idea.
So we can't, so they're not allowed to come in anymore, essentially, to talk about, or to voice their
If you want,
concerns.
so if someone wants to introduce an amendment to legislation, you are free to do that. And if you as a finance board member want to then bring a club in to talk about why you're presenting legislation, you can do that as individual finance board members. But one of you has to present an amendment, not the club.
And it won't be, it's still a process that can be done, it just won't be a formal process. So if a club comes to you saying, I think we deserve more in this category, and you agree with them, you can bring that issue up to the board, but it won't be like a piece of legislation that I write and sponsor up there, like a formal dissemination. It'll be just you making an amendment for
It would be you writing the legislation. It'd be our Michael.
Michael, go ahead.
I mean, I understand the logic behind this decision, but I mean the idea, but I feel like this could hurt organizations, especially since representatives have different viewpoints on certain aspects of amendments. So what one liaison might think is something that's amendable might not be something else that another liaison might agree that's amendable, and I think that creates a certain equity among organizations when they come to try to have something, I guess, reviewed again. And I do think through this review process, we've brought up some pretty good points, some things that we may have missed, like I plan on speaking about later today. So, I mean, I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but I'm not really wholeheartedly confident in the new process you're suggesting.
Meaning just getting rid of petitions.
Right. I understand it's a legislative body and stuff, but I'm not. I think there is a certain aspect to the petition that the organization can come in and voice their concerns. I think it holds us accountable and makes us more accountable to the organization, and definitely having to, I guess, better explain our decisions versus just going to the liaison. But that's just what it is.
Alright, I can see the merit in that. I'll probably see if I can find time next meeting to gather up some points so I can kind of understand both sides better, so I can present arguments, if you guys don't mind on that. Same go ahead.
I mean, also, anybody's always welcome to make public comments to finance board, there's no, rule against, coming to speak discuss things, but, like, I understand what you're saying, Michael, I just think that, like, in terms of amendments, and, well, obviously, like, obviously not on the petition, but like amendments, you also necessarily don't need, like, your liaison specifically to support it, like, if they were to come to me, or, I guess they come to me, but like another finance board rep too, I guess, obviously it's sufficient to, like, not co-sponsor, but put the amendment on the floor. But yeah, I think what you said in terms of just making a formal process was like something that's streamlined, so like, this is the process of how you would do this in terms of once the funding is approved, what it needs to ask, bring an amendment forward or something of that nature, so.
I mean, you are the people who can bring an amendment to the floor.
Yeah.
Student orgs cannot do that. And as Zane said, student orgs can request to be heard by the finance board at any time. But when they are requesting to be heard, it's not then implied that Liam would have legislation ready for them. If they are heard and one of you wants to bring forth legislation on their behalf to amend something, then you are free to do that. But it is not incumbent on you to have an appeals or petition process for that. You don't actually have one. You've just been pretending you do. And this was a long conversation we had last year about whether or not to have an appeals process, what does that mean as a legislative body? You are a legislative body, not a judicial body, and so therefore things like that things are not appealable. Like laws pass, when you're thinking from a federal perspective, laws pass, and the ways that laws are changed is that laws are amended, not that, laws are appealable. But you have a process through which to amend legislation. And if you want to, if the student org wants to be heard, there is a process for them to be heard. I don't think you need to create a secondary process of petitioning or appealing for legislation. I think you need that. You have an amendment process, and you have a process through which students can be heard by the board.
So, this is the idea that I've come up with, all this stuff, and you guys can kind of agree on this. If a club would like their decision to be reheard or reconsidered, have them send an email to the finance board shared email box, and I will see that, and I will put 5 minutes on the agenda for them to come in and plead their case to you guys. And then at that moment, after they're done pleading their case, any rep can determine if they would like to take on this case, so to speak, and prep the amendment legislation for it. And if no rep wants to do so, then that's it. It still maintains the idea that there's a structure. All requests will be seen, so you can see who's like coming in to send the request. They will have time to speak before you, but then the onus will be on, if you firmly believe that they should get their change, then you will be in charge of spearheading that. I will prep legislation regarding any of that.
Even if you're not the liaison of the club speaking?
That's correct.
Wait, so I have a question. So like during the process, the club can come in and like they can speak to us and someone can choose to take on the case.
Yeah.
But will the board in between that vote even if we want to hear the case in the first place?
No,
No.
because you all have the right to request to have legislation put on the agenda. Every one of
Every
you
club
has
has the right to do
the
that.
right to do that. You would send to Liam, I have a piece of legislation that I would like to introduce. And then you would introduce that to the board, and just like every other piece of legislation, a conversation would be had, and then you could motion to have it voted on, and then if there's a seconded, and then it would be voted on. But any of you can put legislation on the agenda.
And since finance board is a public forum, or at least an open meeting, we can't deny clubs association from coming in. So they can come in to us with a request that we all think is like, all right, well, this is not going to fly. We can all think that, but they still have the right to come in and give the request.
Yeah, they can be talked to the board.
So the process we'll do is that, they'll come and they'll do that, and then once they plead their case, I'm going to still decide on whether or not it's going to be a discussionable item or just they explain their situation to you. I might open up so you guys have questions for the orgs, but there won't be an internal solely responsible for emailing out to that organization. If you send me legislation with an amendment, please have a sponsor who is not yourself on that. I think it also would help streamline the process in the fact that it's not just one rep's determination. If they can get someone to agree, saying like 2 people agreed, then I think it's worthy to bring forward to the board. But I also don't want to hamstring the board by having anyone just be able to be like, I think it should be changed. And then, you know, it comes up, it takes time, and clearly no one else is on board. So have a sponsor that isn't yourself, and then that's pretty much it. At least that's how I think that a process like that would be able to work in both ways. If you guys have any suggestions or changes or things, I'm happy to hear those, so we can work out something that we all think is fair and we all think is proper. If you want, we can even do after we ask club questions, you know, we can ask, does any rep want to take this on? Like, you know, during the meeting, that way they can have an immediate point of follow-up. No reps do, then that's that. If a couple reps do, then you already know like who you will have on support to help write your legislation. Thoughts?
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Please. Michael.
I'm still opposed to it, but I guess the rest of the board feels that it's in line, so.
Well, why are you opposed? So what about the new process that you like?
There's multiple issues. I guess I can have a more private meeting with you about the issues. I definitely feel like it does add an extra workload to the liaisons. I mean, I understand we're all cycle members and we should be working for the student body. I also feel like that adds another aspect of work to my workload, which I already feel is overwhelming. But in addition to that, I still feel like there's still inequity, and I feel like there's a lot of holes in that plan, but that's just.
Wait, what extra work does it fall under?
So like writing up legislation and stuff.
I mean, it's only for people who choose to take on.
Right, so in my opinion, whether or not I have to write up legislation in my free time or.
There will be a time for it available.
What, there's a time, well, I mean, I understand that, but still, just having to spearhead it, I think adds, but that's a smaller issue to me. I just still feel it's inequitable. I think still having the club organization's ability to petition regardless of whether an organization, liaison feels that their argument is worthwhile for spearhead, I think it still gives clubs, a level of, I guess, accountability or stuff, just appearance-wise, so, but that's me, so.
Zay?
I mean, I would just say like procedurally wise, like again, like student orgs can't technically like petition legislation, so like a board member or myself or Scott would have to propose the amendment anyway. And I don't know, I think like since the like role of finance board has been expanded and like since the pay has been increased too, I mean personally I think in writing legislation in the past as I've done for like just like nominees and like other things, I don't know if that I don't know how everybody else feels, but I don't know about writing legislation like since you are a legislative body, I don't know if that would add more to the workload. I mean I understand like trying to like not overwhelm you guys with all this like new stuff and like new priorities and responsibilities, but I mean if you're not interested in taking up an amendment for a student org, like I don't think I don't really know how that like would like add to the responsibilities, because like so you either want to take up the amendment and just do like a template for the legislation, or you're not interested in doing the amendment, which either someone else would be or not, and we just determine it to be ordered. So I don't know, that's just what I'm hearing. I don't know.
Because since we can't appeal the process, like we can't appeal a piece of legislation, like a memo would have to be written. The alternative is just a streamlined source code that will come from me. But that also takes away my ability to decide, because in that situation, if I'm an author and a sponsor on any piece of legislation, I'm required to vote yes, unless I'm in a position where the chair can abstain from that position. So if it was something that I disagreed with, then I'd lose my ability to do so by
through the whole thing with Brenda where we can't really make legislation because she has to veto. So I think that the appropriate course of action would just be to have like a Sahas request. I thought that was what that would be on here, but I'm very confused by this conversation. So I think we should be trying to reallocate the money that we've already allocated because we allocated it in such a way that all the money was spent. We don't have any more money to allocate. We can't draw it.
I understood. So this is about the idea of having a petition process in general.
Well, that's a Haas.
No, we're talking about like,
So when we talk about you're able to petition the board to have your thing reheard like we did with the astronomy club, where they came in, they said, I don't think what we got was fair, I'd like to change that. That's the process that we're talking about. The idea about you can petition the board to rehear a piece of legislation that was passed.
Well,
I don't think we should have.
yeah, Scott makes a good point that there's no money to petition.
Where we get no more money from.
Where's the money
We spend it.
from?
They can just talk about that in Sahas, and they can apply for money if they had an unforeseen expense or something. But if they're just unhappy with what they got, we've already done it.
well, yeah, that's why I think there's
They can-
the amendment process and like someone just coming in for public comment.
Yeah. But it would have to be introduced in new legislation so Brenda can have her say in it. We can't change legislation that's already been done. So it would
Yeah.
have to be new legislation.
That's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Would be if a member of the board or a member of a club wanted to have it changed, they would come in and they would plead their case to the board, and then a member of the board, if they so wished, would then pick up that task and write an amendment to the legislation. It would have to be introduced as new legislation. They know that.
But where
Yeah.
do they get the money from?
That's an excellent point.
So I don't know how you do that.
Sorry.
There's no money.
However, I will give you the floor so you can talk about your proposal for this house funding.
Well, as Scott mentioned, there isn't really any money to allocate. However, there was an issue brought up to me by Astronomy Club that last year, there was some advice given on how to write their allocation request for the board to view for the fall semester. Astronomy Club stated to me that when they were writing their budget, they were actually working with the previous treasurer, and she told them to write it up in the way that they had it, in which they included GBMs as the event that they were holding. They stated that they weren't made clear that because apparently there were multiple events in that one allocation form. It wasn't made clear that each event had to have its own separate event form within the form, and some other concerns. So currently I was talking to Liam yesterday about possible ways that they might be able to receive funding. I also spoke to Candace, and she said maybe they could receive money through the Sahas system. So I didn't know if that was something that the board felt would be interesting to see, to more fund organizations such as Astronomy Club that may have made mistakes due to bad information, maybe just looking at it for this semester and then not really considering for future semesters due to proper information given, or I don't know, just I'm curious to hear people's opinions on the situation.
Alright. So we'll open it up to discussion. Does anyone have any questions for Michael to clarify before we move on to a whole discussion on the merits of this idea?
So how do we determine like how much money we want to set aside? Like is there like a percentage, like even like 20% of all someone's funding should go towards correcting errors?
So, originally my idea was I didn't want to use Sahas, but it's kind of an issue that there's really nowhere else to pull money from. So the way I was seeing it is there were very few clubs that we did not fund on the basis of like GBMs and stuff, and I think that's really the issue there. There were several clubs who listed GBMs as, or events as GBMs, and I think that was a large part of the confusion. So I'm more interested in kind of fixing that issue right there. So I think the only amount of money that needs to be set aside is a couple of dollars just to consider those requests. and respect that they didn't receive funding, that they had GBM listed as, they had an event listed as a GBM, and they stated to maybe their finance board liaison that this type of information was provided, or bad information was provided last year when we went to training trip. So that was my idea.
So this is only open to clubs who got no funding?
Correct. I think that's the best way to do it because everyone else, I think it's important to note that it's only for clubs that had no funding, and they had, I think for me, more so if they had GBM listed, because there were other clubs who we did deny funding to, but it was for other reasons other than general body meetings. It was due to things that we just couldn't fund or we had issue with. So, I don't know. I'm interested to still hear what other things.
I mean,
So, Astronomy Club had an event this semester. I was looking to try to rectify this issue for the semester. They had, I think, like $142 that they needed so they could hold the event. I was just looking to try to see if they could request, if you guys would be willing to hear the request through Sahas for these events for this semester, for fall. Justin's question.
and, okay, so my first question is like, is this for only this semester only?
Yes, only for this semester. I think the issue here was that due to the system being changed over the summer, that there was bad information given. So I would argue that for all future semesters, this isn't even considered.
I mean, I feel like that would lead to like a tricky situation though, because it's like, clubs can just say, well, we got bad information from Carly, and Carly who's no longer here to like tell us exactly like what the heck happened.
And I agree, but I think it's something that has to be considered. I can't guarantee one way or another that every single club did have this, but I have heard kind of a collection of clubs. I mean, I've spoken to a club and I've heard through whispers of other clubs that also kind of have the same issue. So, I mean, I don't believe that it's a widespread issue, but I do believe it is an issue that some clubs have experienced. And in my heart, I believe if that is the case, that they were given bad information, it's only fair that we do give them the equal consideration we gave everyone else who did fill out the form correctly with the correct information.
Right. And so when you say like give like a couple of dollars, from like how much? Because it's like, if we're not even giving them like that much, like how much could be useful to these clubs in the first place?
Well, I mean, I would be interested to hear re-review the request in full. I don't believe the organizations that didn't receive funding were asking for a lot of money overall. That's something I think I can go back and review. But like I said, I'm only interested in reviewing organizations that we pretty much denied funding to on the basis of they were holding events, but they had them listed as GBMs. So I think that's a very unique way to kind of limit the threshold of what clubs can request money from the finance board again for those events.
Right, but do you feel like it would maybe open up the door to like something worse? Because I know there's some clubs who did list that their events weren't GBMs, but we considered it to be GBMs. And so those clubs got denied funding for that reason. And so it's like, they actually said they're not having GBMs, but we're like, it sounds like a GBM notion. Like, do you think that might like open up like maybe a sort of like wrong precedent?
I see the issue there. I wasn't aware that there were other clubs that we had denied on the basis of GBM. I thought we were pretty much working off of all the topics that they stated there was an event, and we assumed there was an event, but I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it was one Christian club that was having like a weekly event, and it sounded like a GBM, and I know we told them no funding.
Well, I think if it's a weekly event, I think that's something that the finance board can use, for better terms, common sense on. If it's something that's happening on a weekly basis, I think we can pretty much discuss whether or not we believe that's a GBM or not, versus this is like a one-time event that, you know, we believe is improperly listed as a GBM.
Thank you.
So I feel like this conversation has been it's 18,000 and a bit dollars for the entire semester. Half of that is for marketing and merchandise up until when the budgets are due October 18th, and then it's no longer reserved and we can use the rest of it. I think we would have to see how much we have left, but that leaves like $9,000 for right now. I do like the idea of providing support for these organizations who like got that information, like you were saying. It's just a very small amount of money to work with, but since it's first come, first served, we don't have to like really worry, and we can see things as they happen like we did last year until we run out of money. And since the rest of the pot is reserved for marketing and merchandise, it's kind of like safe from being overspent too. But the purpose of the Sahas is for like, it's listed out like unforeseen expenses, new orgs and stuff. I just don't want to make sure that we don't take away from that. I know there are some new clubs, such as I think it's like Retreat Vets, that are going to be making requests relatively soon. What do you guys think would be the balance to supporting the orgs that got that information? Like Michael was saying, and the purpose that Sahas is for, because I just want to make sure that if we open up Sahas to this purpose, it will probably get spent out. And I just want to make sure that new orgs still have like some access to funding.
One thing that's important to note, and I think we should all keep in mind, is that this would be a temporary stock measure for this semester only. So by next semester, this is the only time where we would open up Sahas to this.
And also, I mean, Sahas was the way that was recommended by Candace, but I kind of felt that in this situation, it would be beneficial if we found another way to possibly fund it outside of Sahas, because I feel the same thing. I feel like there would be some confusion that some organizations may try to come back next semesters and semesters after that to use the system and abuse the system this way. And I really don't want to give that type of image or perspective on this is the reason why Sahas was created, to come and I guess re-request allocations for things that have already been voted on.
To be fair, they can request for whatever they choose. It's just what we choose to fund from Sahas. So it's more of our reasoning rather than if they apply, because they can apply and people will be like, no, that's not what this is for. But if we're changing what it's for, we have to figure out how to protect enough for new student organizations. So would you want to like say we're going to reduce the amount reserved for the original purpose of Sahas for like half and allocate $4,500 to organizations who got that information? Because that would cover astronomy club, but if a bigger club came in and said, hey, we need $4,000, it's first come, first served, then we wouldn't be able to not fund out a precedent without like choosing favorites. So, what is the purpose here? Like, how much money of Sahas do you want to use? How do you want to set the precedents for that?
I think it would be really important just to see right now. I think figuring out how much we should set aside, which I believe should not exceed 50% by any means of the amount you're talking about, the 9,000. By any means, it shouldn't exceed that. It's just figuring out what's the highest amount that clubs could possibly request in terms of clubs that had on their budgets GBMs and we didn't approve them, and that we would actually consider the events.
Yeah.
So
I'm okay with doing that. Sahas is except for marketing merchandise, which is already reserved, has gone untouched so far. So I would rather spend that money for organizations who need it for events this semester and got kind of screwed over for bad information. What does everybody think? Should we open up Sahas to this? And if so, is 50% a good number, or should we do less or more? Because this is like unspent money right now. It's like the beginning of October. Sahas has been open for a while.
Can I add something real quick?
Okay.
If you're getting in the business of bad information, and I'm using air quotes definitely on purpose,
Okay.
it opens up more than just general body meetings. If you do it for general body meetings, you put yourself in a position of are you going to do it for other things. So for groups that put stuff under decorations instead of contracts or stuff like that, where you're going to get into groups that request proof as something,
Yeah.
it's
Slippery slope.
using misinformation as a way for groups to come back in to be heard without proof of misinformation, I think is a very dangerous game. Because I would claim misinformation on everything then.
I would like to have more faith in your student orgs, but it is what it
It's
is.
just like the system can be abused, but we already do that. But this is like unspent money. We can like cap it at orgs can request up to $250.
But it's unspent as of now, but you don't know.
What the rest is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the risk we're willing to take. Like it's October 1st. It's been open for a month, and we have had no requests other than marketing merchandise.
And the thing about it is that any of the marketing and merchandise funds that are reserved for that, once semester budgets are due, so by 2013, all of those funds will roll into the main account, so there won't be reservations. So
Yeah.
right now, like there's $9,000 that hasn't been touched for outside the marketing merchandise fund, and inside the marketing merchandise fund, there's about, I want to say $8,200 left. If that $8,200 isn't used, it'll roll into that $9,000 for the total cost pot. I think
I can give you
Yes.
my
For like misinformation stuff, like if they had a question about like whether they should classify the GM, can they also reach out and ask us if they put it in the right category instead?
So if we wanted, we could just open it to things that were like categorically denied as misinformation.
And then
Rather than events that have already been funded, we wouldn't provide additional partial funding as a way to kind of prevent abuse.
My concern is that people are going to claim misinformation just to claim misinformation, whether it happened or not. And if you don't have a system to prove that there was misinformation, anyone could come in and didn't get funded and say they were misinformed. And I think that with the general body aspect, that you all did kind of use good judgment on the form that they filled out explaining their document, like their event and stuff like that. So I think if it's something that you're considering doing, going back through those forms and saying, do these still actually sound like general body meetings? And general body meetings don't have to happen weekly. It doesn't, like, for that one example, well, I mean, they could be requesting funds for one event that's general body, but it's not going to be repeating. Does that make sense? Like, if it's just for their members, it's kind of general body, if that makes sense to everyone. I just think it's a slippery slope when you're gonna go in with the main thing being misinformation.
I agree. And I did give some thought to that. One thing I was thinking about we could do, I don't know if this is possible, could we check to see when these budgets were created? I think the timing of creation will give us a lot of information about when this type of information could have been provided. And I think there are going to be limiting factors for the fact that everyone would claim it. I mean, looking at the drive, it looks like we denied 32 clubs, 29 clubs for full funding. Well, no, that's not fully true. Well, we denied several clubs for full funding, so I don't know. Does anyone have any great ideas about ways we could limit this?
Okay, just in the next, and then Nithya, and then I'd like to just answer your question real quick, is that there is submission timestamps for when everything was submitted for all, but just in the
Okay, so for the 29 clubs, did we deny them full funding because of the GBM?
We'll have to go back through and look at each individual club. And it's a little less than 29 because I can see right here that some of these clubs do have funding. They were just requesting funding for off-campus events. So, like I said, I would only recommend we consider funding for clubs who just receive $0 across the board.
So it's not all major debt, got zero funding, and they had an outside campus event, AK5 requested for this week's Sky Pageant meets and had to do with funding, so there are.
So the reason I asked how many, because it's like like you said, if it's a few, and like I think it goes back to Corey's point about the slippery slope and a lot of clubs could claim misinformation. If only 6 clubs get denied for general body meetings because they listed something as general body meetings, how Is it that there was really misinformation, or was it that they just didn't understand? Because then that's like a huge difference.
If you wanna respond to that,
So from what I've gathered, I can't confirm or deny this because I just simply wasn't there. What was told to me from Astronomy Club is the club treasurer had gone to treasurer training last semester, and actually worked through the budget with the former treasurer, and the treasurer actually told them to, like, actually in person to put this, and this here. Now, I guess it's an honor code thing, which I guess is kind of how finance board operates on all budgets. We'll have to take their word for it, but I kind of do see the skepticism there. Like, anyone could claim it, and there's really no way to prove it, short of going and asking. So,
Something else to consider too, they might have been told to mark it as general body meeting on purpose because it was a general body meeting. Depending on, I mean, none of us were at that conversation, but just something to consider too is if the treasurer knew that it was a general body meeting and told them to do that, that might be why. Granted, I wasn't at the conversation, none of us were, but just the other side of it too.
Nicholas Scott also.
I don't think there's any information we can gather from like timestamps on the budgets. Because like anyone can like you can create the document and just read it and then come back to it. So it's like you can't get anything from necessarily the timings. And like I know the people in the astronomy club personally, and like that event, like I know that's not what their GVM is, but even then it's like, even though I wrote the illustration and it would be nice if they got funding, it's just very difficult if we were to use Sahas for something like this, because while I know there's a lot of funding, it's still supposed to be for unforeseen circumstances and or new orgs, and I'm just not sure like if we were to somehow use that and then like a request comes in and it's like, oh wait, we actually needed this, but we don't have it.
Scott?
I feel like we're kind of talking in circles, but I agree with Michael. I think we should try and do something. We're not going to categorically fund them. I think we would bring in the specific organizations who want to be reheard, listen to them as first come, first serve. I want to use $4,500 from the Sahas additional funding as is listed on the budget allocations for this purpose. It's first come, first serve. We would spend a little bit of money trying to rectify whatever the problem is. And it would be on a case-by-case basis, so just bring some clubs in, let's see what we can do. Can we have a straw poll and see who wants to use Sahas for this purpose? Can I have a straw poll?
After those two, we'll straw.
I mean, I was sort of, like, I get all the points and I get it. I think it is going in circles, but maybe I would also consider instead of 50%, maybe at like 25, 25% and discussing that. And also, like, again, I do think that it does open up the door, and I think we talked about how we can support clubs in other ways, even though we can't allocate funding. Like we told Astronomy Club, like, you know, like, tell us if your events will help, whatever, you know, because there were a lot of mistakes made, and like, but like we don't necessarily need to fund them in order to sort of start to rectify those problems. I don't know.
There were 7 groups that were not funded for general body meetings, like had 0 funding for general body.
So we're gonna watch Bravo.
Okay. So it's Sahas is for those purposes, and whatever else the finance board deems like for it. I think that's in the language of the guided document. So if we choose to do that, we can do that. I'm not like pressed on a percentage. I just think we should put a little bit of money since we have, since it's gone unspent so far towards trying to rectify kind of smaller clubs that like astronomy clubs like $180. So, it's smaller events that were listed as general body meetings for the most part, and 7 clubs like Tori said. So
We're gonna move into a straw.
Really quick, sorry. So is there a way that, just to prevent this stuff in the future, you could put in the application, like, with this event submission, I acknowledge that this is not a general body meeting because finance board does not fund this or something like that, to kind of force people into knowing that that's true.
The issue that we had on that was that the same thing with user people would request it and it would be for a general body meeting. They kind of just would say, oh, it's not a general body meeting because we know the finance board's not going to fund that. So that was the other issue we're looking at where we'd like them to be honest if they have requested a general body meeting, or at the very least, if they don't check yes on that, or they check no, but with the details and information that we read, it kind of leads to the general body meeting, then we can still choose to deny funding for that based on this, that like, this really is only being advertised towards your members, it's not being advertised to the whole campus, stuff like that. What we can do is put in an acknowledgement of like, this is what defines a general body meeting, this is what the SGA would define as a general body meeting, but I'm hesitant to put acknowledgements in there.
I think that'd be good. I'm just thinking about like, with the way that you just like denied funding for general body meetings this way, I think that word has kind of gotten out that that button is a kill switch.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if it's the same thing either way, that people will know not to check it.
Same first.
Well, I also think
Just
that, like, adding on to Brenda's point, I think it also adds to the fact that we need to, like, be going to events and making sure that at least one of us can go or someone can go to reports. Obviously the success of the event, but, like, obviously if it's something like that where it's honestly a general body meeting, which I think is pretty rare, but if it does happen, obviously there could be ramifications for that, but,
We can work on that.
yeah, I think just, like, making a culture of, like, going to events and, like, knowing what's going on there.
So you guys have been adding in a bunch of new points, but then following it up with, and I'd like to repeat, like saying with words like, and I also like to echo this, so if you're gonna add something, please limit it to a new point. If you agree with someone, you can show that with your vote, but I think we're taking up a lot more time with this than I'd like to. And it's only become a circular discussion because you'll start with something new and repeat back into something new. So if you have a new point, please go ahead.
I agree with Brenda, and I think that we would be able to do that because it's like, finance board could use their auditing power to prevent dishonesty from clubs like yours.
Alright, we'll move into a straw poll on the idea, general idea of, would you like to use Sahas funds for this one-time, this semester use to have clubs be available for clubs to come in and talk about that? So we're gonna do a quick straw poll. All in favor of allowing these clubs to be reheard and using Sahas funds, please raise your hand now. All opposed? Alright, I agree. It's a straw poll. I think that it's worth listening to. I would like each of you guys who think that this is a proper thing to do to, prior to next meeting, come up with a structure for it. How would clubs come in and talk about these issues? How would they be informed about it? How much money are we going to use? How many caps there are? And come up with a solid system to present. So yeah, I'm in favor on the straw poll side, but I'd like to see some tangible results that we could work with, preferably before next meeting. That way they can be introduced at the next meeting and then a system can be devised to take place. But I think we've all talked in enough circles that I don't think it's meritorious to continue discussing or trying to come up with a full body system working right now. So if you voted yes, or even if you voted no, like you think only because it's not working like how you think it is, if you can come up with a solid plan and present it to next meeting, then we can do a full vote on that. Maybe.
I have like an unrelated point. I just want to know, is it possible for us to like have like a Google Calendar of all of them?
So that's an assignment that has been given to Dean, and I'm going to talk about it later on that. But so if the issue was we didn't request dates when we asked them for their fall ones, so what I've been doing is like trying to use general body meetings of organizations and word of mouth to talk, where I'll find out about those events, and then if I can make it, I will, and if not, I'm going to plan on letting you guys know. But since we put those dates in for the spring semester, there will be a calendar for all the events that are happening. If you are the liaison for that event, I'm going to highly, this is basically me requiring you, but I can't fully require you, to go to that event, and if you cannot go, find someone else who can go. But I would like at least one representative of the finance board, ideally the liaison, to be present at an event that we fund. Justin, that's not, no, just Justin.
Yeah, so with the events, I was talking to Scott about this earlier. One problem I found was like I couldn't find some of the events on like my UMBC, and some of these clubs said they would be advertised on my UMBC. So if you can't do that, I would recommend probably sending an email to your club like saying, hey, we said this event would be advertised on my UMBC, I can't find it,
I'm
help
so
me
sad
out.
I couldn't go get that
liaisons, if you could take the initiative to kind of at least mark on, and then Dean and I will be working together to try and create that calendar and adding the events that we know about and seeing what we can do in contact and trying to do the minor stuff. But also, you know, we'll make that calendar available to you guys. So hopefully that'll be done by next week.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions, points, concerns, anything about the Sahas funding or the proposal that Michael introduced? All right. Announcements. Anyone have any announcements they'd like to make? Brenda, go ahead.
So, this year SGA will be doing general body meetings. I know that's like controversial in the board, sorry about it.
We're not funding this, are we?
Yeah, sorry, SGA is funding its own general body meetings. We're all anyway, we are having general body meetings that we are paying for pizza for. I'm sorry. I tried to come up with another name. I tried and I couldn't think of it. Anyway, I am also, like Lynn said, highly encouraging, but not requiring because I can't, but highly encouraging you to be there if you can. So it's going to be super informal, just kind of sitting around and eating pizza with students, talking about what you're working on. Having conversations. Nothing like, you don't have to prepare or present anything, very casual. And there will be 4 of them this semester. They're about every 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, see there. And there's something else I have to about. So just know.
Any other announcements that anyone has?
Student org roundtables start tomorrow officially. If you can come to any, I think October is probably the best time to do it because after November, they're going to be thematic based on what those groups want, and some of them may not want outside people there, if that makes sense. So if you would like to come, October is the time to do it. There's like one or two almost every week. So tomorrow's Readers and Sororities. I think it was shared, Zane shared it all with
Yeah,
everyone.
so there's a Google Calendar invite on all your calendars, and there's it has obviously what it is, what time it is, where it's at, and then like what type of work. So tomorrow's Frats and Sororities. I think next Monday is academic, honors, and career, and then there's the other categories.
Another announcement. Source is open, but sort of. So.
Working on it.
Yeah, she's work in progress. But yeah, so basically with that, I already have some material started. I'm going to make a suggestion Google form too for orgs to suggest anything that they'd like to see be bought in the future to be rented out. But yeah, we had a little bit of a hiccup, but it's okay. Student Organization Resource Center, so over in Upper Flats, we've used that space for like storage. So basically multiple times a week there will be space blocked out in there, so either myself or the person that will be working with me will just be like back there like managing things, so orgs can rent out like some of the stuff we have. There's like a camera background, so like you can put like, you know, you have like camera backdrop and like LED lights, you know, you can take pictures of the background, or we have like different art supplies or just some other like basic like if you're having an event and need candles, we like have some like pretty candles that we bought you and have like lights and like stuff you can put on. Just to like reduce costs of like common things that we have to keep buying for like decorations that don't necessarily need to be kept track by orgs, but like we can keep track of this stuff. So
There's a lot of stuff that is theoretically reusable that was rolled out one time. So like, for example, culturals that hold galas wanted to have a extra table, so you know, tablecloths and then like glass jars with little fake candles in them. And you know, it's easier to have Source be able to rent that out to 4 different organizations than having each of those organizations request to buy that. And it saves us money on the side too, because then we have to fund less for orgs, and that can go to different orgs. Any other one have any announcements?
It's my person that was going to do it.
Any of the advisors have anything they'd like to announce? Alright. That being said, we're going to go ahead and adjourn. I'll recognize that I am present, Scott is present, Justin is present, Zane is present, Michael is present, Elise is present, Nithya is present, Ilse is present, and Mohammed is present. All 3 of our advisors are present, and our secretary, along with the present. We are adjourned.